And I just really think right now, so much time and attention is focused on the recruitment. And I gotta tell you, you gotta be spending a lot more time on retention.
Hi, it's John Bernatovich, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. Welcome to season 3. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope of finding what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. On today's show, I'm super excited to be joined by Lisa Newburger. Lisa was connected to me by another Lisa on my team at Willery, Lisa Mamula, so I have a big thanks to her. Lisa, welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, John.
Can you tell me a little bit about any suggestions you have for HR talent, for talent acquisition professionals to support their employees and their candidates as they're challenged with this remote hybrid work environment that's very much different than it was several years ago?
So true. Before the pandemic, corporate culture was a very easily defined thing and people understood what it was. And then we had a shift to a completely virtual world for many industries, not all. And then we've kind of come into either hybrid or remote or different configurations. And the one thing that I was concerned with throughout the pandemic in 2020 is the risk for people like me who are extroverts, who now we are isolated in our home offices working. And how do we tell what's going on for our colleagues, for our employees? Are people having difficulty with mental health reasons, being isolated, or not having the ability to, hey, John, had this really difficult client to just vent and to share. And so that's one of the things that I was doing during the pandemic, was paying attention on any Zoom meeting to what the audience was doing. As soon as you share a screen, we lose half of them. But to be able to see visually, how do people look? Have they showered? Do they not want to be on camera? And what exactly does that mean for the rest of us being able to communicate and engage with each other when we can't even see our subordinate who may be having some trouble? So I just became very much interested in, as we go forward, because we're not going to return 100%, I don't believe, into the workforce in person, that this is the new world that HR has to be able to manage and to, evolve into hybrid, remote, and in person.
This idea of the great resignation, the big quit, all this stuff that's happening where the dynamic of the supply and demand has shifted to the employee, the candidate population. I'm so curious to get your perspective, Lisa, on why should I work at the company, fill in the blank? What are applicants looking for when you're talking to them and recruiting for your clients every single day?
Well, the first thing everyone's asking, can I do it remote? What's the flexibility policy? I think one of the big issues is that we need to take a look at what matters to candidates. And a lot of times, yes, salary, no question about it. We've seen a lot of companies, a lot of my companies have gone to hiring bonuses and then retention, but now we're at a point where that doesn't seem to make any bit of difference. That it was so great, and early on that was what was engaging. Was able to see how one of my companies went from below the average income for starting salaries to the best paid job in town, and the population coming to them for that. But then you see this slowdown, that we're kind of back to what the research is always saying as far as how we are treating our employees. Is there a career path? Am I going to stay as an assembly line worker, or is there any opportunity for me to become a lead, become a supervisor, move into a different department, move up, make more money, improve myself, and grow personally and professionally? And I think that employers really need to stop and take a look. If there is no career path, maybe that's a good starting point to figure out what can we do to grow our people.
All right, talking about having impact, I was part of a advisory group that was talking about all these ways that we could develop individuals in the human resource professional. And they said the number one training need requested by the human resource professional, and the one they're not getting the most of, is around effective communication. And I'm curious, Lisa, from your standpoint, how do we inspire and evaluate employees through effective communication?
I think the key part of any type of constructive feedback is to be able to listen and to ask the right questions. So I've been a member of Toastmasters International for the last 12 years. And in corporate settings, this is my sweet spot. So what I've watched in those 12 years is how you can teach people to be leaders and you can help them to grow. And part of it is simply being able to find out what their goals are. So I know that when I've worked for different large companies and it came time for that annual review, some of them would give you an evaluation form for you to identify what you could improve on. And then you would meet with your supervisor and the two of you could review your past year and make some goals for the following year. And I always thought that was a really interesting way to do that because it forces the supervisor to be able to listen and hear what's important to the employee. And I just really think right now, so much time and attention is focused on the recruitment. And I gotta tell you, you gotta be spending a lot more time on retention because I can keep bringing in the folks, but you keep losing the folks. And that's a real hand-in-hand piece of what recruitment is about and what HR is all about. How do we take care of our employees, make sure that it's benefiting the company and that it's a nice place to work and someplace people want to get up and, hey, I'm going off to work.
But I'm really curious. This is such a unique time with the great resignation, the big quit, whatever the heck we want to call it. More people leaving the workforce than record times before, more jobs than we have qualified talent for. What are your tips and suggestions? What's your secret sauce you have when it comes to recruiting? Please tell.
I was in my own job search, John, for 6 years. And so as a result, I saw a lot. And I know from those groups that I stay very connected to, which benefits me, obviously, as a recruiter, that how we treat applicants is a big concern. As a recruiter, I am the face of whatever organization I am recruiting for. And I want people to like me and see that there's energy and I got a warped sense of humor and I'm going to make you laugh. And because one of the things I found is recruiting is that if you laugh, it reduces, there's that social work training, it reduces your defenses to the nervousness and the being so caught up in making sure you're saying the right things in an interview. And so having people feel a little more comfortable. I realize that most recruiters, they got 15 minutes, boom, boom, boom. They're going to answer their questions and move it on. But I think a real key thing is to be able to engage, like you said, the communication, to make them laugh, to make them feel, oh, hey, this looks like a great place. If they got this kind of recruiter, it's got to be a great place.
Enlighten our listeners on what you think it takes to do HR like a boss.
One of the plugs I'm going to make is for one of the contracts I work with, your partner in HR, the boss that I have over there, she has my back. So to have a boss, and with all my history and my work and career, when you have someone like that, who you know has your back, will always listen and see how to problem solve and believes in you, that to me is what being HR like a boss, my definition.
Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for listening to the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating or review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.